Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Creative Blog and Article Writing Show. And this is your happy host, Sab, here. I can add a little thing saying inspired by Infinity Coaching. And I have to admit that I remembered that I was doing this about 3 minutes ago. So my first reaction was to say, right, I'm going to cancel it. I'm not ready. And then my second reaction was to say, no, you are going to do it, because that's what you do. You say you're going to do something and you do it. Don't always know when, but you do it. So welcome to the show. It is, as I said, the Creative Blog and Article Writing Show. There we are with me in Paris. And, well, I'm in Paris. I don't know about you. And it's raining. It's very nice. How is it where you are? I'm British, so I talk about the weather. Yeah, you can hear me. Can you hear me? Yes. Say hello if you're watching and you can hear me. So this is rather unprepared because I'm unprepared. Does that ever happen to you? What would you do if you suddenly realized you were supposed to be doing something like this and that it was time to go live and you just remembered? Would you carry on eating ice cream and binging on strange drinks, or would you say, I'm going live anyway? Well, with the gift of blah blah that I have, I'm just gonna go live and I'm gonna share my words from this week. This is all very much, I'm just going to share my window here. And this is all very much about words and about sharing words and playing with words. And any words that you have that you would like to share with me, please do. They could be words in the comments. They could be words that you have written and you would like to me to talk about. It could be poetry, it could be a short story, it could be an article, it could be a meme even. I'm very keen on memes these days because you have to say in the minimum number of words, the maximum impact. So I'm kind of keen on memes as long as they're your words. On Monday, except it was Tuesday, it was the Creative Photography Show. And you know, every week, every day, I produce a photograph of Paris with a text. I don't talk about my text on Mondays, and I'm not going to talk about the photographs today. I'm going to talk about the texts. So I'm going to show you what I've done so far. And again, feel free to say hello and share any words with me that you would like to. It could simply be hello, I'm here in wherever you are, and what you've been up to. What is the most interesting thing you've done in writing this week? What have you written this week? Please let me know. Have you written anything interesting? Have you written a poem? Have you written a story? Have you written a meme? And let's see them, share them with us, and then I'll have something to say about them. It'll be positive. It's writing appreciation. It's not writing criticism. Although, if you want me to, I can tell you what I think. That's not a problem. So I'm going to show you my latest stuff for a start. This only has one latest thing here. There it is. And it was a beautiful place in Paris called the Place du Théâtre. And they have a load of artists who paint things and paint people. And the text that came out on this one was this. And it's interesting because I forget what I've done. As soon as I finish writing, I publish it. I mean, I get it out there on the internet and I forget it. It's almost as though I need to get rid of it to move on to the next thing. So when I look at it again, I don't know, is it like this for you? When I look at it again, it's like I'm looking at somebody else's writing. That even works overnight if I leave it until the next day. I don't publish it. I leave the article until the next day and I come back. I look at it with fresh eyes and I often see all sorts of things. You know, I see the spelling mistakes, the repeated words, the things that could have been said in a nicer way. Or I imagine a new anecdote or a new metaphor that if I just let it go as soon as I'd finished, I'd have lost that. So that's I try to let things sort of simmer overnight and see what happens. But I don't always do that. Don't always have time. So anyway, this is what I said. And this is me. I'm just going to read my stuff, until you give me anything to talk about. I'm going to read my stuff and possibly make some comments on it. And you can see what you think. I always try to Well, I do what I do, you know. It's always tricky to describe words in other words because they're not the same words. Analyzing words is almost a bit of a shame. It's like analyzing a poem. What did he really mean here? What was she trying to say? Well, what she was trying to say is what she said. Anything else, you can talk about it until the cows come home. There is an argument for sort of knowing the backstory to a poem or to a painting or a picture. But sometimes you shouldn't, I think. I don't know. What's your thought on that? Should you know the backstory? Do you want a poem to be described in other words or not? I mean, it doesn't work for stories, does it? You don't really need an author to describe their stories to you in other words, do you? I don't know. Anyway, what did I come up with in this beautiful picture? I said, unlike the countless cheap supermarket lovelocks left behind on a heaving Paris bridge, a uniquely crafted Montmartre portrait taking shape before our eyes is a beautiful thing to behold. Why? In all my time here, I've never succumbed to the supplications of the starving artists. I don't know. Maybe I consider it too touristy, and I'm way above that, of course. But a slight tinge of envy niggles. Am I putting myself above love? So that's what came to me. Now, I write one of these sort of things each day. I started off by saying I was going to do, I think my initial idea years ago now was I was going to do 101 photographs, and each photograph was going to have a text of 101 words. You know, the crazy ideas I have. Anyway, it didn't quite work out like that. But I stuck to the format of having the words go on the photograph. Sometimes I separate them and stuff, and I play with them. You know, I see what comes up. Without having comments, you know, I'm not going to actually go into the actual words. You can read the words and see what you think. You can see how I often use alliteration, using several words which begin with the same letter. That seems to me to be a style I like. It seems to come naturally to me. And when I say it seems to me, I mean that. It means on reading my stuff, I seem to like often using words with that start with the same letter for an extra sort of punch. It's not a new device, it's a common thing. But it seems to me that I quite like that. And I say it seems to me because I don't really do it consciously. I don't know about, how do you write when you're writing? Do you consciously try to use certain techniques or styles, or does it just come out of you and afterwards you look at it and you think, oh, okay, this is a guy who likes using alliteration? Because if I look at this, unlike the countless cheap supermarket lovelocks, well, countless and cheap do begin with the same letter, but they don't begin with the same sound. So that actually doesn't count. I wouldn't really count that as an alliteration. To the eye, it looks like they both begin with C, but it's a K and a Ch. Having said that, I use a ton of words which begin with the same letter, and probably, having said that, not here. But if I look at about my last 7, you will see, I swear it. I play around with words. I like words which mean very precise things, but that aren't used in everyday speech. And I will try and throw in a couple of, twists and possible double meanings if possible. Yeah, so here in the second thing you see, it says, why, in all my time here, I've never succumbed to the supplications of the starving artists. So there's 3 S's in a row there. It's kind of obvious, but, is that how you write? Would you do it? Is it over the top? Is it too much? Is it too many S's? Or is it cool? Or is it neither here nor there? What's your feeling on that? For me, it just kind of falls out of me. And I know when it's too much, and I'll either cut it down or I'll accept that that's the way I write. In my photographs, my feeling is that I produce images which are halfway between grim reality and a kind of dreamy fantasy land. I think my words, my texts are kind of similar to that. It seems that my texts lie somewhere between a grim reality and a sort of dreamy fantasy land, or a fantasy dreamland. They're not always they're not always what they seem to be. There are hidden layers to discover. It's not a direct description of what I see. And bits of strange things can come and go. There could be a little bit of a poetry, there could be a little bit of a surrealism, and there could be some, certainly some double meanings. In the same way as in a photograph, it's very nice if there are, for example, repetitions of theme. For example, you've got the girl on the left being painted or drawn on the right. So that's an obvious example of a double take. But in writing, I was going to say there should. It's not that there should be double takes, but for me, it's much, much richer if there are several layers, if there are double meanings. So that's kind of pretty much throughout all of my writing. This writing on the Paris Photo Chronicles, it'll be like that. Let me look at the latest one. Here's the latest one. And the photo is of a bit of, it's not exactly graffiti, it's street art. And it might have been commissioned for the boutique, because these days you're not really allowed to do this sort of thing in Paris. So to have it that blatantly, it's probably been commissioned. And the text that went with this, I didn't have much time to write this. By the way, if you're watching, say hello. Please say hello. I'd love to know that you're there. Just say who you are or where you are and what you're up to. What did you write this week that you're pleased with? Let me know. And if you like, put it in the comments and I will read it in a very, appreciative way. Don't worry about that. If you want feedback on it, let me know and I will give you feedback on it. This one I just hammered out. I had very little time. I was listening to some webinar that I was supposed to be on, and this was written during it. Not ideal. And I came up with this. Got a light Mac? No, but I've got a dark brown overcoat, as the joke goes. Do you know that joke? Got a light Mac? This is from the 50s or something, Got a light Mac? In other words, have you got a light for a cigarette? Mac is an old name for a guy, got a light Mac? And then the joke is, no, but I've got a dark brown overcoat. This guy's got a light Mac on both counts and is framing a clothing boutique across from Mystique's Sassy Lady. You'll see in 2 When Lady Eiffel Smiles time. That's interesting because I didn't notice this. There's Mystique and boutique go nicely together. And I did not notice that as I wrote it. You might think it's a small thing, but the small things count. Every single letter and syllable counts. So this says, is framing a clothing boutique across from Mystique's Sassy Lady. Mystique is a Paris street artist. I don't think she did the one we see here, but on the other side of the boutique is one she did. She does it with a kind of slogan, a clever play on words. So boutique and Mystique, I'm rather pleased with that. And it's like in photographs. Often I look at a photograph at home and I'll see repetitive elements I hadn't spotted, or some funny little, correspondence between 2 things I hadn't seen before. And I've just seen this, boutique, Mystique. I like it. It's pleasing. And I didn't even know it was there. Official graffiti like this one now needs to have official blessing. Or if it's on the actual frontage of a store, it's usually the store owner who commissioned it. This is quite literal, you see. Cigarette ads aren't allowed in Paris now, but it seems cartoon smokers can still slip through the dragnet. I've never been hooked on fags myself, although my smoking lens makes up for it, I guess. So in the panic of trying to write and listen to a webinar where I was supposed to not look like I was writing, I threw this out. It's sort of half-baked sort of stuff. I used the word official twice, which doesn't really please me. I used the word smokers or smoking twice, which doesn't please. I don't like using the same word twice unless it's for a very good reason. I have a comment. I'm going to say hello to my commenter. Despina, hi Despina. Nice to have you here. You know what, Despina? I don't think you caught the beginning. I forgot I was doing this live. And then I remembered and I looked at my watch and it was showtime. So I decided to not do it. I was going to cancel it. And then I thought, is that really what you want? What if someone is waiting for you to go live? So I thought, I'll go live. And it doesn't matter, does it? I'm sure no one is sort of, on reporting me to the police or completely cutting all communications with me because I went live and I wasn't completely prepared. Yeah, thanks. I'm forgiven. And maybe it's just you and me together here, so it'll be recorded. So, yeah. So I'm talking about words, Despina, and I know you like words. And I mean, I'm passionate about words, utterly, utterly passionate about words. Words and images, they let you express yourself in different ways. One isn't better than the other. I mean, I do both. Some people only do one. Some people do words and painting. Or music. You can express yourself through music, even music where you don't have words. So it doesn't really matter, does it? But words are they're pretty interesting, because if you throw colors at a canvas, you are expressing yourself, and the people will experience the colors. It's pretty primal, it's pretty direct. Those are my colors. Check them out. Like them, not like them, have a reaction, whatever. But if you look at words, it's kind of deeper than that, because you throw words out there, people can read the words, but they can interpret them in different ways. Can you interpret colors in different ways? I don't know. Maybe you could do a painting when you're feeling violent, you're feeling bad and you want a violent painting, and someone else could see a beautiful set of calming colors, maybe. I don't know, but probably, yeah. But words as well, you can say words in one way and people will interpret them in their way, which is wonderful. So when we write, we try our best, I guess, to try and communicate something normally pretty deep or clever or funny, whatever. But that doesn't mean that people will interpret or read our words in the way we wrote them. And we know that when we do one of those things on the internet where you write a comment to someone and they take it completely the wrong way. It's happened to me more times than I can remember. And that's because words are tricky. Words are dangerous. Words are powerful. So Despina says, hello, Sab. She says, you're forgiven. You're on holiday. I don't know. I'm not really on holiday. I'm not really not on holiday. I'm just being me. I don't know what holidays are anymore. No, you're not. You are at home. No, you're not on holiday. What happened to Dijon? Dijon is a distant memory now. It only lasted for 2 days, visiting a friend or two. Got lost in alleys, maybe, if I'm not already lost. I slipped out of a philosophy-packed video to watch you. My brain cells are being fried now. A philosophy-packed video. So are they being fried by the philosophy-packed video or me? Maybe I should try and keep it simple and, not go too deep and meaningful and stuff. Perception differs based on our experiences. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea that we all create our own individual realities. I don't really see that it's any other way than that. What seems to be out there the same for everyone, I'm not convinced it is at all. For example, Despina and I seem to be alive at the same time, whatever that means. But you look out your window, you will see something which isn't the same as I'm looking at. And so my reality here doesn't really exist for you, and your reality there doesn't really exist for me. I can't see it, I can't feel it, I can't touch it. So even you are looking at a computer screen, and so am I, and we somehow feel connected in a way, but are we really? I don't know. Let's move on to some more words. Despina, if you want to share any words of yours, like a poem or something, I would love to share that. So I'm just chugging through my last this week's worth of words. So how do words inspire? How do pictures inspire you? Pictures inspire me a lot. Where does your inspiration for words come from? Tell me in the chat. Let me know. Does it come from a picture, like it often does for me? Does it come from a feeling? Does it come from a bad situation you've experienced? Does it come from happiness? If you're happy, do you feel like writing? Or are your words purely descriptive, or trying to make a point, or write an article, an informative article? That's okay. Despina says, I'm also looking at the moon. I'm not looking at the moon, but I could, I guess. Maybe I will, in your honor. I'll go out and look at the moon in a little while and see if it's around. And that'll be the same moon, kind of. So I had this photograph, which it's got three forms of transport: cars, bikes, and a train, which goes at a funny angle, and this old bench, which is waiting for a bus. and it was kind of nice. And what on earth came to me? What came to me was this: a lonely bench beholds the rain, and cars and bikes go by. Can benches really be lonely and behold methods of transport passing? I don't know for sure, not being a bench. But let's say for now it's true. What couldn't benches tell us about the profound depths of human nature? Or, indeed, the gnarly nature of human bottoms? Tomes could be written. Poems too. In fact, they have, by me. If you believe Tree-Light Bench from 1999, there's an undeniable collusion between said protagonists in a certain shady corner of the Esplanade des Invalides. To feel less alone, according to the poet, apparently he knows. I like giving inanimate objects feelings and character. I'll try and find the poem actually from my website. I wrote this poem and it was called Tree-Light Bench. And it was back 21 years ago, believe it or not. So 2019, so I'm not going to search for the year. I know the year. Tree-Light Bench. And I was on the Invalides des Esplanades. No, the Esplanade des Invalides, which is it's that big, shiny golden dome where Napoleon, one of the Napoleons, is buried. And I used to work there. I used to work in the British Council teaching English to adults and kids. And one day I wrote this poem about a bench and a light and a bench and a light and a tree. And I kind of saw them as this, it was night, because I often used to wander around at night and not always in a very good state, to be honest, and saw this kind of, the light lit the bench, which was also sheltered by the tree, and it started to rain and it was a bit cold. And I kind of saw them as three friends. And this poem came, actually, let me just check out Despina's. Okay, so Despina's Friday poem for tomorrow. I'll write another poem or two. I wanted to do one for each day of the week. I think I've done from Monday to Friday. So Despina's idea, where you take a poem with each line starting with a letter of the day of the week. Friday poem for tomorrow, before tomorrow comes. Bending reality. I did it today on the spur of the moment. So this is a poem which has the letters from the word Friday in it, in capitals. Free yourself from this rambling on in your... I'm going to kill it. I'm not going to say it properly because it's slightly mixed up. Sorry. Free yourself from this rambling on in your mind. Dive into this agape. Agape? Love for you. Guess I watch too many philosophical videos right now. So let's see if I can get this right. Free yourself from this rambling on. Free yourself from this rambling on. In your mind, dive into this agape. I think it's agape because I remember people calling each other agapimu, my love. Into this love for you. It's very short, isn't it? Very simple, very pure. Some of your poems, Despina, were... That last one, I saw one, it was quite profound. It's interesting, isn't it? When you read a poem which seems quite, has a strong emotion behind it, you wonder if the person is really feeling that, or if it was just for the poem. It's maybe that's part of the fun, not knowing. And she says, you say, you were in Paris in 1999. Well, did you see my tree-light bench huddling together? Let's see if I can find it. This is a poem. And here's the tree, good tree, tall tree, strong branches sheltering the bench that basks below the light that warms the tree under the rain, the rain, the rain. And here's the light, good light, bright light, tall comfort for old friend the tree, the tree that huddles round the bench, that hears the lamp lament about the chill, the chill, the chill. And here's the bench, good bench, strong bench, bright paint a-gleaming in the light, the lamp that lights a million leaves, green tears that fall upon the bench at night, at night, at night. And here's the man, sad man, small man, leans back against the good tall tree that whispers secrets to the wind, looks up into the good bright light where rushing raindrops dart and dance, lies down upon the good strong bench, then pillow tears beneath his head, and waits and waits and waits and waits and waits. This one, I was playing around. I like this one here where it says, what couldn't benches tell us about the profound depths of human nature? I don't know if that's nonsense or not, but one of my ideas that benches are there sort of just watching, like a fly on the wall, as all sorts of things happen. People have discussions, breakups, love-ins, all sorts of things. So they, if they could talk, if benches could talk, what could they tell us? And then the joke is, of course, the gnarly nature of human bottoms, because they've seen a lot of human bottoms too, haven't they? Tomes could be written, poems too. Tomes could be written, poems too. And yeah, anyway, that's enough. You get that. And before that, it was chugging through here. Now, this one was kind of tricky because I thought, for a start, I had to justify this photograph to myself, a wall. Yeah, but then I saw there were about 5 or 6 sort of typically Parisian and French items, the slogan, liberty, equality, fraternity, the French flag, the poor little European flag, a lamp, the beautiful symbol of Paris, a boat, which is shaken or tossed by the waves, but not sunk. This is the motto of Paris, shaken by the waves, but not sunk. And then there's this kind of fresque thing here. And the words I said were, I'll read them to you. The spinner is saying, benches have messages written on them. Yeah, you mean like imaginary ones, or that actually people have written on them? Yeah, you get both, don't you? She says, wow, as well. Looking down from a raised walkway by the Gare de Lyon, my eye was attracted to this charming little collection of various things French. The nation's logo of liberty, equality, and fraternity floats above the obligatory tricolour and the rather sulky star-studded European flag. A wan yellow lamp offers the only glimmer of warmth in the scene, pointlessly attempting to illuminate the austere pale walls in broad daylight. Most impressive is the splendid bronze boat, Paris's proud, shaken but never sunk emblem, which sits atop a striking Art Deco panel in bas-relief. I don't know how you say that in English. In French, it's bas-relief. Bas-relief? 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 I don't know how you say it in English. Sometimes we try to make an awful English accent attempt to say it in the French way, and sometimes we just convert it to awful English. Like, do we try and say croissant, and not say the T, or do we just say croissant? We say baguette, but it is baguette. I can't remember if this was a police station or a school, but the French sure are attached to their national Republican symbols. Yeah. I had to look and see if it really was Art Deco or not. I think it is. And a bas-relief is when it's slightly raised up. It's this thing here. It's slightly raised up from the background, but it's not a full-blown statue. Do say hello if you've just joined. If you're watching the replay, then hello as well. This is a writing show. I want your words and I will give you mine. If you show me yours, I'll show you mine. And I write every day. How about you? Do you write every day? What do you write? I will be inspiring more and more people, I hope, to write. And I write every day because in writing every day, I don't have an excuse not to write because I have to write every day. There's not a day when I don't write. Because I don't know about you, but as soon as you say, I'll write 5 days a week, or I'll write 3 days a week, or I'll write 6 days a week, there's one day where you don't write. And in my experience, that day is actually very flexible. And if you're not feeling like writing today, like you say, Sunday is my day off, I don't write. But if it's like Thursday and you don't feel like writing, you say, listen, I'll make Thursday this week's Sunday and I'll write on Sunday. That's it. You're screwed. It's downhill from there on, because you get to Sunday, you'll think, damn it, that was my day off. And now I have to write. And you say, look, just this week I'll have 2 days off. And next week I won't have a day off and I'll catch up. It's just like exercise. I do exactly this as exercise. Never works. You fall off the wagon and you think, I've failed again. So I write every day and I publish my Paris photograph every day. There's no point, you might say to me, what, every day? And I would say to you, I just said every day. Don't you understand what every day means? So that's for me, you see. I'm supposed to understand what every day means. It means every day. It means there is no day where I don't write. And doesn't that sound a bit tough? Yes, but I love writing. What's the problem? I should be unbelievably happy that I am able to write every day. What? Even if it's a line, make it a line, the title of the poem, but do it every day, and then you will be a writer because you write every day. It's amazing. I think this photo wouldn't be good without the text. You mean the égalité? Wouldn't be good without the text. You mean this text, liberté, égalité, fraternité, or my text? Yeah, it would definitely be less interesting without the text. The words in there really fill in that left-hand side, which might be a bit boring. And when in the text I said the lamp gave the only glimmer of warmth, you might say, well, what about this red? And I thought about this when I was writing. Yeah, what about the red? Isn't that a glimmer of warmth? But I had another expression. I toned it down to glimmer of warmth, because for me, the red in the flag isn't giving warmth. It's almost violence. Red, you think blood. Maybe you think love, but also you think heart. Love. Why love? Is it the heart that's beating? Well, isn't the heart full of blood? That's why it's red. So, and danger as well. Red is often a symbol of danger. So red roses, but then roses have thorns, so you've never got just one thing. So I didn't consider the red in the flag warmth. I don't know what I considered it, but it wasn't warmth. The lamp seemed to be warm for me, and the only bit of warmth in this scene. Simon Sinek says, the more people you inspire, the more people will inspire you. That's kind of my aim, actually. Very sort of selfish aim, isn't it? To get as much inspiration coming to me, but helping that by putting stuff out there. And it's exactly what you did, Ďespina, with your poems. You're inspiring so many people to be creative and to give of themselves. And we are benefiting from that. Hey, it's you and me, Ďespina. Let's go for it. It's our show. What is your biggest challenge in writing for your photos? Biggest challenge in writing for my photographs? Well, the order, I can tell you the order. The photograph exists and the text doesn't. This is normally, almost always. I look at the photograph and wait for the text to come. That's normally how it goes. But I only have a few seconds because I'm not going to wait half a day. So as soon as I've chosen the photograph with no idea for the text normally, I then look at the photograph and say, okay, give me the text. I don't know where from, where do ideas come from? Where do words come from? Wherever they come from, I'm asking for them. I'm saying, okay, I'm ready. And lo and behold, they come. They always come. A couple of days ago, I had to write something literally starting with, I don't know what to write. Literally those words, I didn't know what to write. And the text came. I can't quite remember which one it was. Oh, it was for one of my newsletter. It was for one of my creative tips in my newsletter, which you should get, guys. If you don't get this already, I think Ďespina, you get this. Let me just show. everyone. It's yeah, get the newsletter. And it was this. I sat down to write my creative tip for my newsletter. I haven't done today's yet, so I'm going to have to do exactly this in a second. So go to infinitecreativitynow.com/newsletter and get my newsletter. And you'll see a creative tip for every day. And I had nothing. And I started by saying, I wrote something like, nothing is needed to be creative, something like that. Nothing is needed to be creative. It wasn't exactly that, but it was something like that. And that I wrote that because I had nothing. I had nothing in my head to say about creativity for that day's tip. I wrote something like nothing comes. No, it wasn't nothing comes from nothing. You know, it could have been anything. Nothing is always enough, or nothing is needed to be creative. And bam, immediately there's a play on words. I'm just wondering if I can find that play on words. I think it's here somewhere. Here it is. This was the meme that came. I haven't answered your question yet, Lisbon. I know that. Nothing is needed for something new to leap forth if you get it. So let it. This wasn't exactly what I said, but it was along these lines. And it gave me the meme as well. Not having anything to say about creativity gave me a meme about, well, this meme. Nothing is needed for something new to leap forth if you get it. So let it. It sounds strange, get it, so let it, but I wanted it to rhyme. And then I had to find some meaning in the get it. Did I? I don't know. Nothing is needed for something new to leap forth. So that, on the face of it, it sounds like you don't need anything. Creativity can come from nothing. Nothing is needed. You don't need anything. It's all in you. But that's not enough. That's not clever enough. There's no double meaning. Well, there is, because I wanted a double meaning. I said, is there a double meaning here? And there is. You need nothing. The thing which is nothing, you need it. In other words, you need a void to fill. If a place is filled already, there's no space for something new to come in. So having a void, having an empty space, having an empty page attracts words, if you see what I mean. The brain doesn't really like a void. The brain doesn't seem to like emptiness. It wants to fill empty spaces with ideas. Some people, they talk about the empty page, the blank page syndrome, or writer's block. I do kind of get that, you know, people sitting in front of a blank page, just nothing's coming. I understand that. But I also feel that a virgin soil, a blank open space is full of infinite potential. Anything could go there. A blank page, any word could start the first line. Any letter could start the first word, the word of the first line of the first paragraph of that page. So it's a kind of wonderful place. There just has to be something that clicks to make the first word come. And that we don't know what that is. That's unknown. That's the mystery of the universe. The thing is how to be ready when it does, and how to be in a place that makes that first word or that idea come. And I think it's not expecting too much, but knowing it'll come if you don't push it. Don't push it and it'll come. Sometimes I feel that I'm pushing it, forcing it to come, and something comes, but maybe not as naturally, but it comes. Whatever happens, it comes. So there's a double meaning in that simple meme there. And when I said, if you get it, I think I was alluding to the double meaning in this, you know, nothing is needed. You don't need everything. You have it already, but you need nothing. You need a kind of emptiness for amazing ideas to come. Emptiness meaning no preconceived ideas, no preconceptions, no idea of what it's going to be, because then you've already polluted it. The idea that comes won't be pure. It'll be tainted. It'll be trying to fit in with what you already had in mind. So in a way, for something pure and new and beautiful, precious, unique to come, there has to be pure emptiness to welcome it. That's what I think anyway. That's what seems to be. Right for me. So my biggest challenge in writing for my photos, I don't really have a challenge. It seems to come. It does seem to come. Yeah. I seem to have more ideas than I have time to get them out. You're right about everyday commitment. I see that with the poems, not only mine, but for other people who participate, their poetic expression just gets better and better. Yeah. It sounds like, on the one hand, it sounds like if you write too much, you'll run out of ideas. I don't think that's possible. There are too many things you could write about, too many people, too many, it could be a tiny little happening in your day that will only ever happen once to you anywhere. How can you run out of ideas? You can't. It seems that you can, If I wanted to write a book on creativity, I could look at the bookshelves and say, oh shit, look, I've already got 5 books on creativity. What's the point of me doing one? I don't think that's the way to look at it. All you have to do is write 2 or 3 words, slightly strange words together at the beginning of a book or a poem, and it's unique. There's plenty of words and plenty of ideas. And the more you do it, this is the thing, the more you do it, the better you get. The more sophisticated you get, the cleverer you get, the more subtle you get. The more you write, the better your writing gets. It's like a cook. It makes sense, doesn't it? The more you cook, the better and better your cooking will get in tiny, tiny increments, which are imperceptible from meal to meal or from poem to poem. But if you look at poems from many years ago and today, you'll see the difference. There is such a thing as getting stale and losing inspiration. Yeah, I'm sure there is, but I don't think there need be. Basically, you're right about everything in terms of creativity, in my humble opinion. I love it when people say that. No, I'm not right. It's my opinion. It's not right or wrong, but you can agree or not. Everyone has their own way, don't they, of doing things. Nothingness was the best tip. Quite relieving. Yeah. We shouldn't have an obligation to create stuff, and an obligation or pressure doesn't help creativity. Feeling that anything is possible and it'll come when it comes, and it will come, is probably the best way. From nothing to something, new birth, new life, new me, new you. Yeah. Aren't humans amazing? They seem to come from nothing. Trees from an acorn, a tiny little acorn. Bam, the entire tree is in the acorn, kind of. Isn't that incredible? The acorn knows what it's doing. It's producing oak trees. And the oak tree knows what it's doing. It's producing acorns. And humans produce humans. And tomato plants produce tomatoes. Okay, let me read a couple more and then we'll call it a day. I know that Despina probably wants to go to bed, because you're always saying good night halfway through my things. Maybe I send you to sleep. That's not a bad thing, is it? Like a lullaby. Da, 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 da. On a most curious Montmartre house, 2 regal eagles keep watch imperviously down the decades. I've beseeched these stern stone sentinels to drive away any FWV owner who considers loitering in the curving streets' coveted parking spots, thus ruining my shots of this classic view, but to no avail. They show perfectly imperious disdain to both me and the offending white vans. Imperial would be better than regal, as the birds ornament the home of Commandant Henry Lachouc, passionate Napoleon historian and clearly a huge fan. Eagles were Napoleon's thing. Yeah, there's this Napoleon historian who loved Napoleon, and Napoleon loved eagles. It was his symbol, battle symbol and stuff. So Napoleon had sort of delusions of grandeur. He wanted to be like a king. He was an emperor, and the emperor got very close to a king, which was strange because he came after the revolution. So you'd think that sort of personage would be gone. But no, they ended up with an emperor who was basically like a king, kind of. Interesting stuff. French history, wow. And I played around with words, you know, regal eagles, but then they're not regal. They're what was the word? Imperial. Imperious and imperial are not the same thing, you see. Imperial is to do with empires, and regal is to do with kings and royalty. And impervious means unable to be affected by, or something like that. So lots of fun words in there. The sentence starting "I've beseeched" is really long, and sometimes my sentences are too long. And occasionally I try to make them really short, you know, da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da. That can be powerful, but then sometimes a long sentence comes out and it seems to be okay, and I'll leave it. You can't tell a writer how to write. You can tell them how you think it would be better, but you can't tell them how to write. As soon as you tell them how to write, you might as well write the whole thing for them. You know, I sometimes think that if I write something like a poem, how personal can you get a poem? And if someone suggests, you know, I think you should, why don't you use punctuation? You know, you should have a full stop at the end of the line. Or, you know, even a comment on a word, or saying that the sentences are too short or too long or too fancy words or too simple words. As soon as, how can you criticize art? I mean, how can you suggest that art should be different? Because art, by definition, is unique. It's creativity. It hasn't existed before. There's nothing to compare it to. So if someone, you can dislike something, but to say it should have been, it would be better if it had been done some other way, that's where you should have done it. You know, they aren't you. You think it should be done another way. Well, you paint your own damn painting. And you know, I think it's quite funny. People telling artists how their work could be better. Pure art is creativity. It can't be compared to anything. So comparing it to something and saying it would be better if, for me, seems absolutely hilarious. You could watch a film and think it's a bit boring and think it would be better if there'd been more, you know, but in the purest form, you just have to say, oh, that's what he produced. Oh, that's what she painted. You honestly can't go further than that before it goes into opinions, personal opinions. And if you've got personal opinions on art, I think you should probably shut up and paint your own thing. And, you know. Okay, so that bird photo is amazing. The text as well. Thanks. You know, some people don't think it's that spectacular a photograph, but it was tricky to get it looking good at all. There's repetition of the eagles, which wasn't easy to get, but anyway, that's what happened. All right, let me get out of here. I'm going to move faster and finish up this show in an hour. We'll be done. We'll be out of here. This one was in my, I'm not getting past into what I did last week, am I? 23rd of August. It was my birthday on the 22nd, by the way. 32. And then another 32. What did I write about the number 32? How can you find a text from the number 32? Well, I did, for what it's worth. If this had been 55, I could have published it yesterday for that birthday, 55th birthday. Because it was no, I did that. I did this joke a million times on Sunday, I think. Not a joke, but it isn't, and I didn't. So let's enjoy it for what it is. A splendid addition to my fancy Paris street numbers from 1 to 81. I think this is an example where I'm not trying to be clever. It's not poetic, but you can ask yourself if I've still tried to use any sort of, you know, writing devices to make it hang together. The double 32 would have been cool if I'd just turned 64. When I'm 64, but that also wasn't the case. I will be on the lookout for a pretty pair of 5s this year, though. 5, 55, not 10. So let me know if you find one. We're in a curious little back road in the 13th, by the way, full of identical chocolate box houses. The 13th. This is the 13th arrondissement, district of Paris. Now, there's an arrondissement you can count on for its high-quality streets. So I used the word street. I said back street. In this part here, I started by saying curious little back street. And I think I used the word curious before. Got rid of the double use of curious. And I said back street here. And only in reading later, sometimes it's as I publish, I realize I've used the same word twice and I shouldn't. So I turned this into back road because here I've got, you can count on it for its high quality streets. This is supposed to be a joke on the fact that there's chocolate called Quality Street. It's a box of chocolates called Quality Street. And I had just called them full of identical chocolate box houses. So there you go. In case you missed it, that was me trying to do that. Your photos are getting more mature. She's saying good night. I knew she would. I'll say good night to you, but I won't sleep. I still have to watch the rest of the philosophy video. Challenging and mind-blowing too. Oh, well, yeah, send me the link. Or maybe it's in a private course that you're doing. Yeah, so, well, thanks, Lepspin. If you're going to go now, thanks very much. And thanks for saying your photos are getting more mature. Not sure if that's a good thing, a bad thing. Do they get smellier as they get more mature? I don't know. And I'm probably, look, someone, Chris, sent me a picture of her hands with her fingers, 5 and 5, with a rainbow in the middle. How cool is that for my birthday? That is so sweet. All right, so I think we're pretty much at the end of the pictures to catch up with. Shall I finish with a poem? Yes, I'll finish with a poem. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I've more or less caught up. So this is a beautiful example of a bird being in the right position at the right time. I just asked him and he was. And a poem came out from this. And the poem, furthermore, came after the poem. So the poem came first and I thought, what shall I call it? And I called it Furthermore. I don't know why. Enigmatic words. Why not? And there's a rather incorrigible comment saying, incorrigible sab, adorable sad. Oh, well, I adore you too, Lepspin. Are you going to stay with me for the poem? Here we go. From the height of my 75 pristine years, life slipping away like the drifting senborn leaves. As the wispish wind of my shadow steps bereaves, the city of light breathes dark sighs past old ears. I'm quite pleased with this. I get worried about poetry because I think I'm getting crapper as I get older and that my best stuff is behind me. And that's not a good place to be. You know, it's not pleasing, it's worrying. But as I was saying earlier, maybe that does happen. Maybe you have, you know, your genius zone, your genius period was early on in life. But I don't think it has to be like that way. I don't think you have to accept that. If you keep writing, you keep doing it, there's plenty of words out there, there's plenty of situations. Maybe there's only a few really, really strong emotions, but you can express them in many, many, infinite number of ways. So I'm not worried anymore. I used to be depressed because I thought I'd heard all the great songs that I was going to love in my life and that I wouldn't hear anymore. And every week I'll hear a new song which I fall in love with. I can't believe it exists. I can't believe it's possible that someone wrote such an incredible change of melody, you know, change of chords, crashing guitar, whatever, you know. And I'm relieved. I think I haven't found all the great music yet. There probably still is new stuff to blow my mind for the rest of my life. And it's got to be the same with words. You've got to think that, otherwise what's the point? And this came out and I'm pleased with it. So that gives me faith. But you've got to be producing regularly. Like every day, for example, how does that sound? So I challenge you to write something every day. If you're a writer, you're supposed to write. You don't have to say I'm a writer and then be able to prove it. But, you know, my personal thing is, I don't call myself a writer. I don't call myself anything. I don't call myself anything. I don't believe in anything. But I will tell you what I've done in the last week. And if you think that makes me anything, then that's fine. So, for example, I've written 7 things of this in this sort of style, this sort of size, in 7 days. You decide what that makes me if you want to. Or I can just be the guy who wrote this. It doesn't matter. But I don't like labels, because as soon as you give yourself a label, you feel you have to live up to it. And people will think, yeah, but you're not really. Or I know another person with the same label who I reckon is a bit better than you, you know. It's crap. It's crap. So I don't go for it. I just say, if people are interested in me, I show them something I've done in the last week. Well, what do? Well, I did this picture yesterday. I mean, some people think, you might think that the past doesn't even exist. So what's the point in showing old stuff? So if you show something today, what about today? You could say, well, I published this photograph this morning. That's pretty current, isn't it? That's pretty real. Even if this morning is gone, it's pretty real. You're not saying, I'm a writer, but the last thing I wrote was 15 years ago. No, you're saying today. This is what I created. This is what I wrote this morning. That's a writer for me, someone who writes. Surprisingly enough, there's a couple of funny little twists in this. I was desperately trying to find a rhyme, and I found bereaves. I didn't want to have. There was another rhyme which was too obvious. I think it was tears to rhyme with years. You know, hello. I think that's been rhymed before. Years and tears. I was desperately looking for something different. I went with ears. Ears isn't that sexy. Let's face it. So I desperately tried to find something, you know, making some sort of poetic sound past old ears. I didn't think that was too unpoetic, so I went with old ears, kind of, you know, a little bit evocative. But then I was looking for something for leaves. You see, the rhyming scheme is years, leaves, bereaves, ears. And I was looking for something with leaves, and I wanted something poetic, and I came up with bereaves. Problem is, it's a kind of a tricky word. You know, it's not just, you can't just say, he bereaves me every day, or the city bereaves me. It doesn't work like that, you know. It comes from bereft, or bereft comes from bereave. And it's, you know, to be like deprived of something, or in mourning of something. No, yeah, to be deprived of something. So what deprives what? That's the challenge I had. Because in this, you might think bereaves needs a subject, an object, you know. Is it my shadow steps bereaves? Well, that doesn't work, because it would be my shadow steps bereave. If the shadow steps are the subject and bereave is the verb, well, it should be shadow steps bereave and then something. Bereaves what? So I did this twist, and I said, as the wispish wind of my shadow steps bereaves. So that could be that the wind bereaves my shadow steps. No, it's the wispish wind bereaves something of my shadow steps. Yeah, it's twisted, but it still works, except we're still waiting for what is bereaved. As the wispish wind of my shadow steps bereaves what? Well, the city. The city bereaves the city. So is the city bereaved of my shadow steps by the wispish wind? Maybe, except the city is the start of the next line, which leads into the city of light breathes dark sighs past old ears. So it's a kind of a twist. You see, the bereaves the city would work, but the city is actually the start of the phrase, the city of light breathes dark sighs past old ears. So it's fun. That's the thing. It's fun, and there aren't any rules. You can follow grammar rules if you want. I personally feel uneasy when there's a blatant crappy grammar. That doesn't really do much for me. You know, crappy grammar, like it's wrong and there's nothing clever about it. It's not funny, it's not clever. You know, if it's not funny and it's not clever, no, basically if it's wrong, that doesn't do it for me. It's spoilt it. But if it's twisted, but still, it's like a spelling mistake. There's nothing clever about a spelling mistake. It just looks dumb and you look stupid. Unless it's a clever spelling mistake, unless you're playing on words, there's a pun in there. So I'm not a fan of spelling mistakes. Have no place. I say this very often, and it's one of my sort of pillars. Spelling, every letter has to have its place. A spelling mistake has a real spelling mistake, which is a mistake. You missed it, you know, it's wrong, has no place in my writing unless it's intentional. And if it's intentional, there's a reason for it. And it's not normally because I want you to think that I can't spell. There has to be a deeper level. And there mustn't be a time. I don't want there ever to be a time when you think I can't spell. It's a kind of a personal thing. I mean, maybe you feel exactly the same way, but for me, it's, you know, sacrosanct. It can't be part of my poetry, because playing with letters and words is our art. It's our tools. It's our raw materials. and you can't let something as I'm not sure what the word is, but a spelling mistake, a genuine spelling mistake creep in. That would spoil the whole thing, because then whenever you're playing with words, people would never know if you did it on purpose or you haven't really got a particularly good grasp of the language. So that's my little hobby horse, and I've given it to you once more, and I'm happy with that. All right, I'm going to call it a day, folks. We've had an hour. I had the wonderful, beautiful Despina with me, and if you're watching the replay, thanks so much for watching as well. I really appreciate it. Say hello, say that you watched. That really makes me feel good, and it makes me feel that you're enjoying these, and gives me a reason for carrying on doing them. So there we go. I'll just give you a bit of a word from our sponsors. Don't worry, it's just me. Join the creative blog and article writing group if you would like to. We have challenges, we have stuff like that. You see masterclasses. Every week I will talk about your writing and mine in the way I just have. I want you to contribute. I want you to give me words to play with, to appreciate, and to talk about. Weekly themes. This is, it's not really taking off because there aren't too many people in the group yet, but I'm kind of sticking with a weekly theme for a couple of weeks of, I think it was heat, but we'll see how that one goes. And I created this thing as well to show you what you can do in the group. So you can share your words always. There's a daily theme, a daily prompt. It's normally my picture with a little snippet of words. Let the picture and or the words inspire you to offer your own words, to produce them or to find them from some of your writing and contribute them underneath the picture. They don't have to be linked to the photo or the words which I offer you. No, they can be whatever you like. You've got something to share it under the daily prompt. That's fine. Read the daily prompts, do the weekly themes, contribute if that inspires you, watch the live show. That's this. Thank you for watching. Comment and ask questions at any time on any topic. I'm very happy. I'm in writing probably, but it could be, shallow or deep questions on writing. Try the challenges. There'll be a challenge coming up at some point. There will be masterclasses. I'm planning a writing masterclass in the same style as my photography masterclass, which is a wonderful 9-week adventure to get you to produce at the end of the 9 weeks something amazing that you've never produced before. And I'm planning a Paris retreat for next year as well. Come to Paris and take your writing to the next level in a very beautiful place. So with Paris woven into the fabric of the words that we will produce and the way we will produce them. I just can't wait for that. So sometime next year, express your interest if you are, a Paris writing retreat, and get creative and have fun as ever. That will never change, folks. And do join this, my mailing list for the newsletter and the Infinite Creativity Now group, where you can contribute your words as well. But if you do other creativity, not just words, I've got a photography group. You could join the Creative Smartphone Photography group if you want to share your photographs. Any other type of creativity, or you want to interact with my activities and prompts from the creativity newsletter, which I send out each day, then sign up for the creativity newsletter, which is, you go to, let me see if I can find it now. You go to infinitecreativitynow.com/newsletter, infinitecreativitynow.com/newsletter, and sign up for the newsletter. You get that, you get my 9 ninja tips, and you can take part in creativity, be inspired by creativity in my topics in the Infinite Creativity Now group, and we'll all have fun and be creative better than ever before together. Sound good? Okay. All right, I'll leave it at that. You know that if you go to infinitecreativitynow.com, you find all my stuff that's coming up, and the next thing that's coming up will be a masterclass, which is starting towards the end of September, and it's called the what's it called? It's called Creative Smartphone Photography Masterclass. And on the first run that we did in the spring, wonderful. And this is going to be even better because more things will be in place. Really amazing experience. turn your sad smartphone snaps into artistic masterpieces in 9 exciting weeks. And next year, the writing masterclass will be similar. It'll be similar, but for words. Okay, folks, so thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, appreciate you. And I wasn't going to do this because I realized at about 1 minute to go that I was doing it and I'd forgotten. And I did it anyway. And I've just talked about writing for 1 hour and 5 minutes. Well done me, well done you. Thank you for coming to watch, and I'll see you again next time. Happy scribbling. Bye for now, folks. Bye for now.